was still trembling from the shock of murder. In 44 BC, the most powerful man in the Republic, Julius Caesar, had been stabbed to death by senators who believed they were saving Rome from tyranny. But instead of restoring freedom, the killing unleashed chaos. Armies began to form. Alliances shifted overnight. And in the middle of it all stood a quiet 19-year-old who had just learned that Caesar had named him his heir. Few in Rome took him seriously, yet within a single generation, that same young man would dismantle a 500-year-old republic and quietly replace it with an empire that would shape the world for centuries. His name was Augustus. At the time, Rome was not meant to have kings. For nearly 5 centuries, the Roman Republic had been built on the belief that power should be shared among elected officials. The Senate governed, consuls held temporary authority, and citizens were supposed to have a voice in public life. But by the 1st century BC, the system was breaking down. Powerful generals like Caesar commanded personal armies loyal to them rather than to the state. Political rivals used violence as a tool of persuasion. Civil war had become almost routine. When Caesar was assassinated on the Ides of March, many senators believed they had restored the old republic. In reality, they had only opened the door to an even more dramatic transformation. The young heir Caesar had chosen was born Gaius Octavius, later known to history as Augustus. He was not a famous general. He had no great political reputation. Many Roman leaders dismissed him as inexperienced and easy to control. Yet Octavian, as he was then called, possessed something far more dangerous than military glory: patience and political instinct. Within months of Caesar's death, he maneuvered himself into an uneasy alliance with 2 powerful men: the general Mark Antony and the politician Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. Together, they formed what became known as the Second Triumvirate, dividing the Roman world between them while hunting down Caesar's assassins. The alliance brought temporary stability, but it was built on mistrust. Each man knew that only one could ultimately control Rome. The struggle finally reached its decisive moment years later on the waters off the western coast of Greece. In 31 BC, Octavian's fleet confronted the combined forces of Mark Antony and the Egyptian queen Cleopatra VII in the famous Battle of Actium. The battle itself was chaotic. Ships crashing together, arrows filling the sky, commanders trying to outmaneuver one another on the open sea. But the outcome changed history. Antony and Cleopatra were defeated, their power shattered. Within a year, both were dead, and Octavian stood alone as the undisputed master of the Roman world. Yet what he did next was even more remarkable. Instead of declaring himself king, something Romans despised, he carefully presented himself as the restorer of the Republic. In 27 BC, Octavian announced that he was returning authority to the Senate and the Roman people. In response, the Senate granted him a new title, Augustus, meaning the revered one. It sounded respectful, almost ceremonial, but behind the title lay real power. Augustus controlled the armies, the provinces where those armies were stationed, and the immense wealth that came with them. Rome still had senators, elections, and traditional offices. On the surface, the Republic seemed to continue. In reality, Augustus had created something entirely new: the Roman Empire. It was a system where one man quietly held ultimate authority, while allowing old institutions to survive as symbols of stability. The effects were enormous. After decades of civil war, Augustus brought a long period of relative peace known as the Pax Romana. Trade expanded across the Mediterranean. Cities grew richer. Roads and infrastructure connected distant regions from Britain to the Middle East. For ordinary people, life became more predictable than it had been in generations. Augustus also reshaped Roman society itself, promoting traditional family values, funding grand building projects and transforming Rome into a capital worthy of a global power. As he later famously claimed, he had found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. Yet one of the most fascinating details about Augustus's rise is how carefully he avoided the appearance of dictatorship. Officially, he was not called emperor in the modern sense. He described himself simply as princeps, first citizen. This subtle choice of language helped him maintain the illusion that Rome was still a republic. Many Romans likely understood the reality, but after years of chaos, stability mattered more than political theory. Augustus had mastered something rare in history, ruling absolutely while convincing people that the old system still existed. The system he created would shape the world far beyond ancient Rome. The idea of a strong central leader governing a vast territory through administrative institutions influenced countless later empires and governments. Even today, many political systems still struggle with the same tension the Romans faced: how to balance stability, authority, and the ideals of shared power. The transformation that began under Augustus continues to echo through modern political debates about leadership and democracy. And that brings us back to the young man standing in the shadow of Caesar's death. When Romans first heard the name Octavian, few imagined he would change their civilization forever. Yet through patience, strategy, and careful control of power, Augustus achieved something no Roman before him had managed. He ended the Republic without openly destroying it, and in doing so he launched an empire that would dominate the Mediterranean world for centuries. But it leaves an intriguing question. Did Augustus truly save Rome from endless civil war, or did he quietly take away the freedom the Republic once promised? If you enjoy exploring the real stories behind history like this, consider subscribing so we can continue uncovering them together here on World Stories Unfolded. I'd be genuinely interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to understand the moment that set all of this in motion, the story of the assassination that changed Rome forever is waiting for you on the screen now. The next chapter in the rise of the Roman Empire.